Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back. Okay, okay. We are live now. Okay, welcome everyone. Let's review. Okay, first, a vocabulary review. Government intervention, interference, carnage, be at stake, lip service, perfunctory, tokenism, free ride, freezing of the taxpayer. It was in the best interest of all concerned. It was in the best. It was in the best interest of all concerned. The process by which America has moved to the left was statism, 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 while marching behind the political banner of this who speak the language of opposing statism. Statism, okay, statism, opposing statism. 扛着红旗反红旗 okay. That's all for yesterday. Today we'll continue to read the chapter 4, Home, Sweet Loan. Oh my god. 房地产市场 The history of increasing government intervention in the housing industry. The stifling of the free market forces in residential real estate, estate, British, estate, America, estate, okay. Real estate, real estate, real estate,
Real estate.
real estate, okay, real estate. Okay, real estate. The okay, here it is. The residing crisis in the SL industry, the bailout of that industry, with money taken from the taxpayer. As we have seen in previous chapters, the damage done by the banking cartel is made possible by the fact that money can be created out of nothing. It also destroys our purchasing power through the hidden tax called inflation. The mechanism by which it works is hidden and subtle. Subtle, 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 and subtle, 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 隐隐约约的。The mechanism by which it works is hidden and subtle, subtle. Let us turn now from the arcane 神秘的 arcane world of central banking arcane 什么意思？神秘的 from the arcane world of central banking to the giddy world of saving and loan industry institutions. Giddy, giddy, giddy. Zero is the giddy limit. The giddy delights of success. To feel giddy, here, have a giddy feeling. Have a giddy feeling. From the king world of central bank to giddy world of saving loan in the institutions, gone by comparison, by, by comparison, the problem in the S&L, save and loan industry is easy to comprehend. It's easy to comprehend. It is simply that vast amounts of money are disappearing into the black hole of government mismanagement, and the losses must eventually be paid by us. The end result is the same in both cases. Oh, okay. Okay, let's do it. Socialism takes takes root in America. Socialism takes root in a 请帮我翻译成中文。社会主义在美国扎根。帮我翻译成中文，并解释翻译细节。社会主义在美国扎根 takes root in America. Takes root 扎根。It all began with a concept. The concept took root in America largely as a result of the Great Depression of Great Depression of the 1930s. American politicians were impressed at how radical Marxists radical radical Marxists were able to attract popular support by blaming the capitalist system for the country's woes. Country's woe. Woe. Country's woes. and by promising a socialist utopia. They admired and feared these radicals, admired them for their skill at mass psychology, psychology, mass psychology. Fear them lest they become so popular as to win a plurality at the bailout box. It was not long before many political figures began to mimic the soapbox orator, 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 and the voters enthusiastically put them into the office.
Enthusiastically.
Enthusiastically,
Enthusiastically.
enthusiastically put them into office, while the extreme and violent aspects of communism generally were rejected. The more genteel, theories of socialism became popular among the educated elite, and it was they who would naturally become the leaders in an American socialist system. Someone had to look after the masses and tell them what to do for their own good, and many with college degrees and those with great wealth became enamored, 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 enamored，不对，就叫 enamored, 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 be filled with a feeling of love for 充满爱心的，喜欢迷恋 enamored by the thought of playing that role. And so, the concept became widely accepted at all levels of American life. The downtrodden masses, as well as the educated elite, that it was desirable, desirable, desire, des, de, de, desirable, desirable, desirable for the government to take care of its citizens and to protect them in their economic affairs. And so, when more than 1990s SL, and loans went belly up in the Great Depression, Herbert Hoover and and a most willing Congress created the Federal Home Loan Bank Board to protect depositors in the future. Depositors, and began to issue chapters to institutions that would submit to its regulations, and the public was led to believe that government regulators would be more wise, prudent, 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 深谋远虑 prudent and honest than private managers. A federal chapter became a kind of government seal of approval. The public, at last, was being protected. However, Hoover这个名人叫 Hoover was succeeded by FDR in the White House, who became the epitome 荣耀典型 epitome 典型 epitome because the epitome of the new breed success breeds complacement. Earlier in his political career, he had been the paragon of free enterprise and individualism. He spoke out against big government and for the free market. But in mid-life, he reset his sail to catch the shifting political wind. He went down in history as a pioneer of socialism in America. It was FDR who took the next step toward government paternalism, paternalism in the safe and loan industry, as well as the banking industry, by hello? Okay, it's okay. Okay. As the banking industry by establish the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Federal Saving and Loan Insurance Company. From that point forward, neither the public nor the managers of the thrifts needed to worry about losses. Everything would be reimbursed by the government. Oh my god. 这就是共产主义思潮。A house on every lot. a house on every lot. "土地的分块 parking lot. At about the same time, loans on private homes became subsidized. Subsidized. 果然是 subsidized through the Federal Housing Authority, which allowed SAVE and loans to make loans at rates lower than would have been possible without the subsidy. This was to make it easier for everyone to realize the dream of having their own home, while the Marxists were promising a chicken in every pot. The New Dealers were winning elections by pushing for a house on every lot. In the beginning, many people were able to purchase a home who otherwise might not have been able to do so, or who would have had to wait longer to accumulate a higher down payment to accumulate a higher down payment accumulate a higher down payment. On the other hand, the FHA induces 感应劝说 to induce somebody to do something 导致某人做某事 to induced easily credit began to push up the price of houses for the middle class, and that quickly offset any real advantage of the subsidy. The voters, however, were not perceptive. The voters, however, were not perceptive enough. Perceptive. 洞察力的 perceptive enough to understand the cancelling efforts and continue to vote for the politicians who promised to expand the system. Oh my god. The next step was for the Federal Reserve Board to require banks to offer interest rates lower than those offered by S&Ls. The result was that funds moved from the banks to the S&Ls and became abundantly available for home loans. This was a deliberate national policy to favor the home industry at the expense of other industries that were competing for the same investment dollars. It may not have been good for the economy as a whole, but it was good politics. 这个房地产市场这也是共产主义思潮的一部分的作用导致的。Abandonment of the free market. Abandonment 放弃了自由市场。Abandonment 放弃自由市场 Abandonment 翻译为放弃，主动放弃。Of the free market. These measures 这些动作 effectively removed real estate loans from the free market and placed them into the political arena where they have remained ever since. Oh my God. The damage to the public as a result of this intervention would be delayed a long time in coming. But when it came, it would be cataclysmic. Cataclysmic 就是灾难的意思。Cataclysmic. The reality of government disruption. The reality of government disruption of the free market cannot be overemphasized不用过多的考虑，不用过多强调 overemphasized, for it is at the heart of our present and future crisis. We have savings institutions that are controlled by government at every step of the way. Federal agencies provide protection against losses and lay down rigid guidelines for capitalization levels, number of branches, territories 是领土 branches, territories covered, management, policies, service rendered, and interest rates charged. The additional cost to save and loans of compliance接受 compliance接受 OK compliance we must comply with this regulation has been estimated by the American bankers association at about 11 billion per year, which represents whopping 打击 60% of all their profits. Profits. Okay. Profits. On top of that, the healthy component of the industry must spend over $1 billion each year for extra premiums into the so-called insurance fund to make up for the failures of the unhealthy component, a form of potential penalty, a form of penalty for success. When some of the healthy institutions attempt to convert to banks to escape this penalty, the regulators said no. Their cash flow was needed to support the bailout fund. On top of that, the healthy component of the industry must spend over $1 billion each year for extra premiums into the so-called insurance fund to make up for the failures of the unhealthy component, a form of penalty for success. When some of the healthy institutions attempt to convert to banks to escape this penalty, the regulators said no. Their cash flow was needed to support the bailout fund. 此外，行业中健康部分每年必须额外支付10亿的保费，用于所谓的保险基金。so-called insurance fund to make up 以弥补不健康部分的失败，实际上这实际上是一种对成功的处罚。A form of penalty of success. 当一些健康的机构试图转型为银行以逃避这种惩罚时，监督机构 the regulators said no， 也就是他们的现金流对支持救助基金甚至至关重要。什么意思？还有一种健康的部分也是原因，就是所谓的保险基金，没有不健康的是吧？健康的基金必须得付保费，这实际上是一种成功的处罚。以监管机构，天哪，是这么回事？成功的机构被迫补贴失败的机构，而且还不被允许逃离这种制度。Insurance for the common man. The average private savings deposit is about 6,000, yet under the cartel administration, the level of FDIC insurance was raised from 60,000 to 100,000 for each account. Those with more than that merely had to open several accounts. So, in reality, the sky was the limit. Clearly, this had nothing to do with protecting the common man. The purpose was to prepare the way for brokerage houses to reinvest huge blocks of capital at high rates of interest virtually without risk. It was, after all, insured by the federal government. The average private saving deposit is about 私人存款大概是$6000. Yet, under the JEKYLL administration, Carter administration, the level of the FDC was raised from for each account. Those with more than that merely had to open several accounts. 所以事实上 the sky was the limit. 天空才是极限，就是你可以存那么多。Clearly, this had nothing to do with protecting the common man. 显然这无法 protect 正常的人。The purpose was 目的是 prepare the way for brokerage houses 破产的 houses to reinvest huge blocks of capital at high rates of 这个不明白。其目的是为经纪公司铺平道路，使其能够以无风险的方式、高利率重新投资巨额资本，毕竟这些资本由联邦政府提供保险。The purpose was to prepare the way for brokerage house brokerage broker 天哪，这是 brokerage houses 经纪公司 to reinvest huge blocks of capital 高利率 high rates of interest virtually without risk. Prepare the way broker houses 经纪公司 brokerage houses brokerage houses to reinvest huge blocks of capital 重新投资 huge block 现在资本规模 huge blocks of capital at high rates of interest 高利率 virtually without risk. It was, after all, insured by the federal government. 某些金融机构利用政府担保来进行低风险的高收益的投资。就是这个The purpose was to prepare the way for brokerage houses to reinvest huge blocks of capital at high rates of interest virtually without risk. It was, after all, insured by the federal government. In 1979, Federal Reserve policy had pushed up interest rates, and the savings and loans had to keep pace to attract deposits. Keep pace 提高了利率，然后呢 pass 这个什么pace pace 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 to attract deposits 步伐 节奏做法 keep pace to attract deposits. By December of 1980, they were paying interest on their money market certificates. Yet the average rate they were charging for new mortgages was only mortgage 抵押贷款 Many of their older loans were still crashing away at all, and to compound the problem, some of those were in default, which means they were rarely paying zero. The surface were operating deep in the red and had to make up the difference somewhere. The weakest save and loans paid the highest interest rates to attract depositors, and they are the ones which obtain the largest blocks of brokered funds. Brokers 经纪公司 no longer cared how weak the operation was because the funds were fully insured. They just cared about the interest rate. 天哪 On the other hand, the C&L managers reasoned that they had to make those funds work miracles for the short period they had them. It was their only chance to dig out, and they were willing to take big risks. Oh my God. For them also, the government's insurance problem had removed any chance of loss to their depositors, so many of them plunged into high-risk real estate development. Deals began to go sour, and 1979 was the first year since the Great Deposit of the Great Depression of the 1930s that the total net worth of federally insured savings loans became negative, and that was despite expansion almost everywhere else in the economy. The public began to worry. 这政府就是这么干吗？为什么要这么干呢？少数寡头就要少头搞头，然后就要从联邦储备出现负值，这种情况公共开始担忧。Deals began to go sour, and that was the first year since the Great Depression. 大萧条 Depression. Depression.大萧条 The Great Depression. Depression. That the total net worth of federally insured assets became negative, 出现负值 and that was despite expansion. That was despite 准备相反 despite expansion almost everywhere else in the 经济几乎所有领域都在扩张的背景下出现了负值，这个很奇怪。Full face and credit 也是 full face and credit 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 the protectors in Washington responded in 1982 with a joint resolution of Congress declaring that the full faith and credit of all United States government stood behind the FSLIC. That was a reassuring phrase, but many people had the nagging feeling that 这个 G 不发音 ，no no knowing feeling that somehow we were going to pay for it ourselves. Knowing. And they were right. Consumer Reports explained. Behind the troubled banks and the increasingly troubled insurance agencies stands the full faith and credit of the government in effect, a promise sure to be honored by the Congress that all citizens will chip in through taxes or through inflation to make all the poor liters whole. Applied 什么 ？Applied 困境处境。The plight of the SLs was dramatically brought to light in Ohio in 1985 when the home state saving banks of Cincinnati collapsed as a result of a potential $150 million loss in a horizontal securities firm. This triggered a run not only on the first three branches of Homestays, but on many of the other SNLs as well. The news impacted international markets, where overseas speculators dumped paper dollars for other currencies, and some rushed to buy gold. Within a few days, depositors demanding their money caused $60 million to flow out of the states. $130 million insurance fund, which true to form for all government protection schemes, was terribly inadequate. If the run had been allowed to continue, the fund likely would have been obliterated the next day. It was time for a political fix. On March 15, Ohio Governor rich sales list declared one of the few bank holidays since the Great Depression, and closed all 71 of the state-insured thrifts. State-insured thrift 储蓄机构 thrift 节俭储蓄 thrift state-insured thrift. He assured the public there was nothing to worry about. He said this was merely a cooling off period until we can convincingly demonstrate the soundness of our system. Then he flew to Washington and met with Paul Volcker, chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, and with Edwin Gray, chairman of the Federal Home Loan Bank Board, to request federal assistance. They assured him it was available. A few days later, depositors were authorized to withdraw up to 750 from their accounts. On March 20th, President Reagan calmed the world money market with assurance that the crisis was over. Furthermore, he said, the problem was limited to Ohio. This was not the first time there had been a failure of state-sponsored insurance funds. The one in Nebraska was pulled down in when the Commonwealth Savings Company of Lincoln failed. It had over 60 million in deposits, but the insurance fund had less than 2 million to cover, not just Commonwealth, but the whole system. Depositors were likely to get 65% on the dollar, and even that was expected to take up to 10 years. An invitation to fraud. An invitation to fraud. Okay, the last one. 这是一个标题。invitation. Invitation to fraud. Then the fallout began. Okay. 好，腐败邀请书。Okay. In the earlier days of Reagan administration, government regulations were changed so that the S&Ls were no longer restricted to the insurance to home mortgage 体不发音 mortgage 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 okay home mortgages the sole reason for their creation in the first place. In fact, they no longer even were required to obtain a down payment on their loans. They could now finance 100% of the deal or even more. Office buildings and shopping centers sprung up everywhere, regardless of the need. Developers, builders, managers, and appraisers made millions. The field soon became overbuilt and riddled with fraud. The field soon riddled with fraud. Riddled with 现在充满遍布 riddled riddle 到处 an administration that was riddled with grants and corruption. Riddled with fraud. Billions of dollars disappeared into defunct projects. In at least 22 of the failed safety there is evidence that the FAA and CIA were involved. Fraud is not necessarily against the law. Fraud is not necessarily against the law. In fact, most of the fraud in the 7L saga was not only legal, it was encouraged by the government. The German Act allowed the thrifts 储蓄 to lend an amount of money equal to the appraised value to real estate rather than the market value. It was long before appraisers a person who carried out a formal assessment of an employee's performance, appraiser, a person whose job is to assess 评估师 were receiving handsome fees for appraisals that were, to say the least, unrealistic, but that was not fraud. That was the intent of the regulars. The amount by which the appraisal exceeded the market value was defined as appraised equity. Appraised equity, and was counted the same as capital, since the S&Ls were required to have $1 in market in capital for every 33 held in deposits. an appraisal that exceeded market value by a million could be used to pyramid 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 33 million in deposits from Wall Street brokerage houses, and the anticipated profits from those funds was one of the ways in which the S&Ls were supposed to recoup, 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 to recoup their losses without the government having to carve up the money, which it didn't have. In effect, in effect, in effect, in effect, in effect 不是 effect effect 啊，英文是 effect in effect, the government was saying we can't make good on our protection scheme, so go get money yourself by putting the investors at risk. Not only will we back not only will we back you up if you fail, we'll show you exactly how to do it. Beta begins. 天哪，整个翻译一下吧。实际上并不一定违法，实际上储贷协会这个故事中大多数欺诈行为不仅是合法的，而且还是受到政府鼓励的。In fact, most of the fraud in SS not only legal, it was encouraged by the government. Okay, the GST 法案，这个法案可以按照房地产的估值，而不是市场价值来放贷。Allow the thrifts to lend an amount of money equal to the appraised value of the real estate rather than the market value. It wasn't long before appraisers were receiving handsome fees for appraisals that were, to say the least, unrealistic. 不久，评估师就开始因为提供不切实际的评估而收取丰厚的费用，但这并不是欺诈。Unrealistic, but that was not fraud. That was the intent of the regulators. 这就是监管机构的目的，这正是监管者的本意。The amount by which the appraisal exceeded the market value was defined as appraised equity. 评估价值超出市场价值部分被定为评估权益。Not before the price was receiving handsome fees for that, to say the least. But that was not fraud. It was the intent of the amount by which the appraisal exceeded the market value. Exceeded 超出。高出超过 exceeded which the appraisal exceed the market value was defined as appraisal equity进行评估权益 equity appraised equity and was counted the same as capital. 并被等同于基本。由于每吸收33美元就需要1美元资本，每吸收33美元存款就需要1美元的资本。Since that's required to have $1 in capital for every silver in deposits， 投入$1的资本就需要33的储备，33的存款需要1美元资本。因此，一个比市场价值高出100万美元的评估用来吸收华尔街333万的存款。因此，一个比市场价值高出100美元的评估因此一个这个100万评估需要30美元，而从这些资金中获得的预期利润就是储贷委员会无需政府出资来弥补亏损的方式之一，而从这些资本中获得的预期利润就是信贷协会来弥补亏损的方式之一。实际上，政府是在说，我们无法履行我们的保护计划，所以你们自己去通过让投资者承担风险来获取资金吧。如果你们失败了，我们不仅不会支持你们，而且还要告诉你们具体怎么做。First man, not for that was intended. Pyramid, JEKYLL, pyramid system in deficits. Pyramid cut up the money 掏钱口语化 call up Speaker has anxiety profits from those who are which and the rapid profit from those funds was one of the ways in which the assets were supposed to recoup their losses without the government and to cough up 天哪 cough up the money cough up the money putting the investors at risk 哇，这的话就是一个粉丝现象。政府通过合法化某些可疑做法来逃避自己的责任，实际上是在鼓励一种制度化的欺诈，需要制度化的欺诈。看一下这个制度化的欺诈是什么意思啊？就是说，根据这个法案，储贷机构可以按照房地产的估值，可以按照估值而不是市场价值来放贷。存储机构是可以，储蓄机构是按照这个，比如说100万美元的房子，然后我的估值是200万，然后200万的话，我就可以按照200万来放贷，然后高出的这100万就叫做评估权益，对吧？这就是评估权益。然后它呢会当做一个资本计算，由于每吸收33万人，就需要1美元的这个 capital。好，看看这儿啊，这个就是 capital，就是叫 capital，就是资本。然后呢多出来的100万就需要华尔街公司吸收3300万的存款，而从这些资金中获得的预期利润就是储贷委员会无需，看一下这个啊。A proposal that exceeds market value by 1 million could be used the pyramid 33 million in deposits from Wall Street brokerage house, and the anticipated profit from these funds. 这些资金中获取的 from those funds was one of the ways in which the assets were supposed to recoup their losses without the government to cover them. 不需要政府掏钱，而是华尔街 which it did have. In effect, the government was saying, 我们 make good our protection scheme，我们没有履行 make good，we didn't make we can't make good our protection scheme. So go get your money yourself by putting investors at risk. Not only we will back you up if you fail, we'll show you exactly how to do it. 100万美金的房子，然后呢，高出我的市场评估价是200万美元，市场评估价200万美元，我就可以贷200万美元，到贷200万美元，然后呢，这个储贷协会呢，储贷协会就可以把这高出的100万美元，高出的这100万美元的评估，可以吸收华尔街3300万美元的这个存款，而这些资金中从这些资金中获取的预期利润就是按没有亏损的方式，这样的话我就多贷出100万美元呗，都贷出100万美元，可以用来吸收3300万美元的存款，这就是它的预期的利润，这是它的利润，因为多贷出了100万，多出来100万，相当于是多吸收了3300万的存款的这个，就跟这个存款所支付的利息就是持平了，这样的话就是预期的利润。但是，一旦这个失败了的话怎么办？然后政府说我们无法履行我们的保护计划，因为这个多出的100万美元的，你3300万美元的存款就相当于这3300万美元就相当于是风险很大了，所以你们自己去通过让投资者，你们自己去通过让投资者承担风险来获取资金吧。啊，我的天，所以这个意思就是 an invitation to fraud，给你铺路让你来腐败，不腐败不行，政府没有保护，政府还鼓励，这不就是那个什么吗？Okay, that's all for today. Let's wrap it up today. Let's wrap it up today. Let's wrap it up today. Okay, let's review. Home, sweet Lord. 这句话讲的，首先第一个是，社会主义思潮在美国扎根，这个是发生在这个1930年期间的大萧条的时候，社会主义趁机在美国进行洗脑，这是交代的这个事情的背景。然后这个社会主义思潮就是人人有房住，是吧？然后这个呢，政府利用这个思潮，然后去放贷，然后这个贷款利率低于市场的利率很多，但是银行吸收存款的利率比这个利率还要高，所以这里边就形成一个漏斗，然后所以这里边就是很大的一个风险。然后呢，这样的话就政府又参与管控什么之类的，然后使得自由市场经济被迫的放弃，所以情况下肯定会爆发呃 depression 是吧？Great Depression，crisis for common， 所以这里边的 FDIC 还有什么这个家庭保护的这个协会都是扯淡，挂羊头卖狗肉。这些崩溃之后，然后政府呢就出面说，我给你 forfeits and credits，这就纯属扯淡了，这叫什么嘴皮的功夫，lip service and perfunctory tokenism，这全是这个，就政府在占便宜，free ride on the American people，it's fleecing of the taxpayer，所以然后呢，后边写了一下，并不是所有的这些行为都是违法的，都是 illegal， It's illegal because the Reagan administration government regulars were changed so that were no longer restricted to the insurance of the home mortgage 贷款，房屋抵押贷款。这就是房屋抵押贷款的一个大的漏洞，因为这是政府资助的，你的房子值$100万，你可以找评估师评估出来$200万，高出的这个评估师叫 appraisal 的 accurate appraised equity，哎呀，这是制度性的腐败，啊。Okay, that's all for today. Thank you, guys. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Hello.